think that you can see that, yes, indeed, my friends, sound money, physical gold, physical silver, helps you maintain your ability to always pay those taxes. So what you're looking at here is the purchasing power versus house price inflation versus state property tax collections and spot silver and spot gold. We've all been getting used to subscriptions. Well, if you think about it, property taxes are like a subscription fee for a house that you're already buying or you're already bought. You could pay off the mortgage, maintain the home, and own it outright, but miss a few subscription payments, and the government can repossess your property. This is something that actually did indeed happen during the Great Depression. But take a look at this movement, thanks to a wonderful viewer, Abolishing Property Taxes, a National Awakening. Can they do that? Well, I don't know. We've got to look at a few key points because states from Texas to Ohio to Pennsylvania, they are openly debating reducing or eliminating property taxes. Now, homeowners feel like they're renting from the government even after the mortgage is being paid, but this isn't fringe anymore. It's a mainstream reaction to a system people no longer trust. And there's that trust and that confidence coming up again. And when the system becomes unpredictable, you need an asset that is not unpredictable. It's what gold and silver are. Because property taxes are based on property wealth, and because governments have to balance their budgets in the face of declining or soon to be declining commercial property wealth, property taxes on homeowners in a variety of jurisdictions, well, guess what? They went up. Shocker! Not that the rates necessarily, but the amounts, right? Why? Because property taxes are based upon how much the government values your property. So, and we also have to keep in mind that property taxes fund 70% of local government revenues and up to 90% of school budgets. So eliminating them creates a massive funding gap. So what are they talking about doing instead? Increasing sales taxes, declining services. These are all the kinds of things that happen if you're trying to eliminate property taxes. They'll go up somewhere else because how are they going to fill that funding gap? In the meantime, what's really happening is the purchasing power of the consumer dollar. When I bought my first house, that would have been, I think, 1978, maybe 1979. And at that time, I paid $59,000 for an 1,800 square foot house, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, a nice little starter home on, I think it was on a quarter of an acre. That same property today is going for somewhere around $500,000. It's the same house on the same street. What's different? My property taxes on that would be much different, but it's really more of a reflection of inflation or that loss of purchasing power, which has been substantial between 1971 and today. In the meantime, the price on the house has gone up in terms of these inflated dollars. That's how they do it. So you're going, look at how much more my house is worth. Woohoo, woohoo, that's awesome. But what you're not really realizing it is because the value of this stuff has gotten so low. And there's only so far down that it can go, let's face it.
Across several U.S. states, from Texas to Ohio and Pennsylvania, public debates about property taxes are intensifying. Many homeowners feel they are effectively renting their homes from the government long after the bank has been paid off. Yet eliminating property taxes presents a serious challenge. These taxes fund roughly 70% of local government revenue and often supply up to 90% of public school budgets. If they were reduced or removed, governments would need to replace that income through higher sales taxes, new fees, or reductions in public services. The debate reveals a deeper issue: declining trust in economic systems and the growing pressure on household finances.
And you can see the rise. Those gray bars on that chart represent official recessions. And what is the answer to the government and the central banks every time we hit an official recession? Is for the debt to go up and up and up. So now what's happened? Homes are unaffordable for most people, especially starter homes. And what we're looking at here is the state government property tax collections in the U.S. And again, take a look at those gray bars because that represents the official recession. How do governments generate income? Taxes. They don't really do anything to earn income. It is your tax dollars. And if they lose revenue in one place, I guarantee you they got to find it someplace else. What we've seen is just massive printing, right? But you know, whether you're a government, a corporation, or an individual, when you have debt, that debt must be serviced. And generating income through taxation and through immovable property, that's a great way for the governments to do it. The local governments, state property collections. I mean, look at it. It's at the highest level ever. And that, my friends, is official.
Consider how dramatically housing prices have changed over time. A modest home that sold for around $59,000 in the late 1970s might easily exceed $500,000 today. On the surface, this appears to represent enormous wealth creation, but much of that increase reflects inflation and the declining purchasing power of currency rather than true economic growth. Since the early 1970s, the U.S. dollar has lost a significant portion of its value. As money weakens, asset prices naturally rise. Homeowners celebrate higher valuations, yet those same inflated prices also drive higher property taxes, insurance costs, and overall living expenses.
And what do we have here? Well, let's take a look at silver prices over the last 100 years. And I know, 1971, our government vowed to keep those silver prices at $1.28 an ounce. $1.28. Because this has a face value, or at least the early ones, wherever they may be, have a here's one, of $1. And what did we recently see? We recently saw silver go above $80 an ounce. Is that because silver's worth that much more? Or is it because the dollar is worth that much less? Are those house prices going up because they're worth so much more? It's the dollar being worth that much less. And it is a way to create that inflation, which hurts you and me and the normal person, but it helps governments generate greater tax. Can you see how silver could maintain your ability to pay those taxes? This is a 100-year history on gold prices, and starting from 1971, when the official U.S. price of gold went to $42.22 from the original $20 for an ounce of gold. Then in December, when I did this, it was at over $4,300 an ounce. Is that gold going up or the dollar going down? Because gold is the primary currency metal, silver is the secondary currency metal. And I think that you can see that, yes, indeed, my friends, sound money, physical gold, physical silver helps you maintain your ability to always pay those taxes. So what you're looking at here is the purchasing power versus house price inflation versus state property tax collections and spot silver and spot gold.
Economic slowdowns often trigger government responses aimed at stabilizing the economy. Historically, recessions have been met with increased spending and rising debt levels. As governments accumulate debt, they must generate additional revenue to service those obligations. Property taxes provide a reliable method because real estate cannot be easily moved or hidden. Over the decades, property tax collections have steadily climbed to record levels. While rates may not always rise dramatically, assessments often do, increasing the amount homeowners must pay. The result is a system where inflation raises asset prices and governments collect higher taxes based on those inflated values,
which still to this moment do not reflect their true fundamental value. But can you see how these increases and the declining purchasing power, 88% just since 1971, right, of your purchasing power? Does that make sense to you? That's why you have to work so much harder. That's why when you go to put gas in your car or food in your belly, things cost so much more. It's because of that loss of purchasing power. At the same time, house prices went up over 416%. Wow, okay. And how about those state property tax collections? Guess how much they went up? Over 2,200%. It is an evil, genius system where the governments and the central banks create the inflation and then tax that inflation on top of your loss of purchasing power. It's disgusting. How do we prevent it? We get sound money back in the system again. Yes, I think every single person should be their own central banker, and every single portfolio should have a foundation in real money that governments and central banks cannot inflate away. So it's above governments and central banks. That's how you can create that surety. And look at it, spot silver. If property taxes, the state property tax collections went up over 2,200%, the manipulated spot silver went up over 5,100%. And spot gold went up over 10,000% during that same period of time. Can you see how gold and silver, sound money, can enable you to always pay those property taxes? This is a key component of the Zang Enterprise sound money strategy, because this is one of the risks that real estate runs. You've got to have the ability to immediately pay off that mortgage and to always pay your property taxes. And this is just from regular inflation. What happens when we hit hyperinflation? And when will that hyperinflation become noticeable? Well, this, my friends, is the confidence in the government here in the U.S., public trust in government between 1958 and 2025. And it's gone from 73% down to 17%.
Throughout history, precious metals have often served as alternative stores of value during periods of currency instability. Over the past century, the prices of gold and silver have risen dramatically in nominal terms. For example, gold was officially priced at around $35 per ounce in the early 1970s, while modern prices have reached several $1,000s per ounce. Silver has also experienced significant long-term increases. These movements largely reflect the declining value of fiat currency rather than sudden changes in the intrinsic usefulness of the metals. For many investors, gold and silver remain a way to preserve purchasing power during inflationary cycles.
When it breaks below the lowest level ever, that's when we will see the visible hyperinflation. Are you ready for it? That's what I like my fractional gold coins for as well, is to pay those property taxes no matter what, so that you have the ability to maintain it. But that's also what creates the opportunity, because most people will not be prepared. And so all of that property is coming on the markets. Are you going to be in a position to pick that up when they are at bargains, because that is what I recommend for everybody. It's part of the strategy, and anybody can do it just by holding your purchasing power intact, like I've been showing you with the gold and silver. That's all you have to do. It's so simple. And then you'll have your purchasing power when it's time to convert into other income-producing assets like real estate. We can do this. You can be better off on the other side of this mess than you are going into it. And there's so many different ways that you can accumulate both gold and silver. Because frankly, in any form, it's monetary at its base. What's most recognizable? In coin form, that's most recognizable. But a variety, a diversified portfolio, because frankly, there's gold, and then there's gold. There's silver, and then there's silver. What's the right thing to own? How much of it should you own? Call us. We'll help you figure that out so that you are not just properly protected to maintain the roof over your head and where you live, but you're also in a position to take advantage of opportunities as they arise. And together, on a global basis, how about we get redeemable gold back in the global monetary system again? You know, the global sound money movement is working on doing just that, but it must be redeemable. I don't care if they say it's backed. I want proof. I want the ability to hold their toes to the fire. Same reason why I give you all the links. I give you the tools to hold my toes to the fire. How about we do that with our elected officials? And how about we do that with our unelected central bankers that are just private corporations? We were doing something about this today. What does it say on the top of this? This is a Federal Reserve note. That means that what we're actually working for is corporate debt that they easily inflate away. How about working for sound money? What a concept. And I know that together we can absolutely make this happen. It was only 3% of a vocal population that created the Revolutionary War or started the Revolutionary War. Let's have our own peaceful revolution just by converting your garbage fiat that's being inflated away into sound money that is above central banks and governments.
Economic confidence plays a critical role in the stability of any financial system. Over the past several decades, public trust in government institutions has declined in many countries. When confidence weakens, markets often become more volatile, and investors begin searching for assets perceived as more stable. Some people turn to diversified strategies that include tangible assets such as precious metals or real estate. The goal is not merely speculation, but preservation of purchasing power over time. History shows that economic cycles eventually shift, creating both challenges and opportunities. Preparing thoughtfully today can help individuals navigate whatever financial environment emerges tomorrow.